What is up, sir?
What's up, man?
Thank you so much for. I turned the volume down so we don't have to hear ourselves talk a little bit. Thank you so much for that, man. That was such an honor to have you in the studio. First off, first question: where do you find your music, man? I've been dying to ask you this. Is it a big secret or like? Where?
No, it's not. There's no such thing as a secret. Just under every rock, man. There's no right or wrong way to find it. I'm never not looking ever. I'll be in Target Shazamming that sucker. Like it don't matter. It really does. I found it from you, sucker. Like you were playing. Yeah, literally everywhere. But obviously one of the best things is once you get going into I'm not personally. I'm not one who picks a lane. Or I like a lot of lanes, but I want to go deeper down each one of them. But still, once you start developing lanes, people hit you like, "Yo, this is some Jeremy Soul shit. I just heard this, and this is some Jeremy Soul shit." And quite often they're right. Quite often they're not. But I see where they're going. So a lot of times, and then the best thing ever is when a lot of us get together, which we haven't been able to physically do for a while. But when DJs get together or record collectors, music collectors, that's the holy grail. That's the jackpot, because then each of us is like, what are you looking for? You're looking for more what? I know exactly what you need. Oh, you need some of this. And then all the time I spent digging, I'll gladly save that other person that time digging and give them the heat. The heatest of heat. Maybe not. Maybe I'll save a couple for myself. You know what I mean?
Do you still mess with vinyl at all? Do you go record shopping? Do you go crate digging at all?
Yeah. No. I mess with vinyl all the time. I'm not in vinyl acquisition mode. No.
Yeah, no.
When I see those sales with those super heavyweight rap cats and everybody and the heavyweight collectors and stuff, I gotta stay away because I gotta save up right now. It used to be like records are rent, and
I just got 1200s and spent my first year's pay on just old records that I needed to have, not even stuff I can DJ really.
Yeah.
You see on my walls, it's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
All my favorites,
Yeah, but they are favorites, man.
So you grew up in Chicago?
I grew up in Chicago.
How did that influence your sound? Is that how you got into the the world and fusion and jazz and like funk stuff?
I think that was going to happen either way, just because I was just ever expansive. And whatever music was expansive, especially expansive, meaning like it took influence from multiple places. I think Chicago is a very interesting place because they call it the city of broad shoulders. It's kind of like literally. Why would you make an analogy and start with the word literally? But still, it's just like the heart of the country. All the railroad lines lead to and through Chicago. It's like the hub where it's like the aorta and everything leads right to the center, and so that's where people from all over the South, and people think the blues is from Chicago. Blues is not from Chicago. The people from the South came to Chicago to look for work, because you work there, you can make it. It's the city of immigrants. There's so many German folks. There's so many everything. So that was a real hidden blessing, or apparent blessing right off the bat, was realizing I'm surrounded by all types of people. And it was kind of the most segregated city, but that was kind of like, when I say segregated, I mean everybody had their own zone. Not that they didn't talk with each other. Everybody's on the bus with each other. It's a city of good transportation. So like New York, everybody's right around everybody. It's not like here in LA sometimes. Your level's a playing ground, exactly. A CEO sitting next to a guy who might be just sleeping on this train all night, going from front to back. And so all people are coexisting, but also each culture is not diluted. They go home to their people. The Hasidic Jews, you cross the street and then you're in Little India, and then you cross it. You know what I mean? So it was, in a way, it's kind of beautiful because I don't call it a melting pot, because that's when things get watered down. Mm-hmm. Instead, it was a bunch of stuff that all had their own zone. You know what I'm saying?
Cool, man. Did you grow up in a musical household, or was your family musical, or is this something that you discovered on your own?
My family was really musical. They were not musicians in any way. My dad had a stint trying to be a music agent. He was trying to book somebody named Shaka Khan when she was a young girl.
Oh, wow.
But all her friends were Black Panthers. Like, what are you doing with this cracker? With this, And but yeah, he tried to be a manager. He managed a group called Cracker. Actually, at that time, that was his group. Not the one that later became popular, but yeah. And but it's it's a gangster town. You have to be, everybody's either paid off, either you're in or out, and it's hard to be like a newcomer trying to do big business in the music industry, which was kind of mafia controlled as well. So he got out of that before I was born. But you know what, my mom always like had a song queued up for moments, like, you know what I mean, and look at me like I'm playing your jam or something like that.
Awesome.
And that maybe was a spark that kept that stuck, you know.
Nice. Who were your influences to start to get into music? Was there like anybody specific that would like really put you on to like DJing or mixing or producing?
Wow. As far as people I knew personally who were like
Either one.
I mean, I remember. Okay, let me see. My boy Ivan wrote Self. That was his tag name, Self. And Self won, and I think it was Ivan's cousin was Ricky Bradshaw. Ricky Bradshaw was the only person in the neighborhood not even in my neighborhood, in a neighborhood nearby that I knew that had turntables in his bedroom. So I remember, and Ricky Bradshaw's mom, I believe, wrote like a certain house music anthem. I don't remember which one she sang on. But it kind of make him like local famous in a way. I was still too young. I was 13 or something like that. But, you know, I'd be like, Miss Bradshaw. She's like, Ricky's not here. Go away. Because I wasn't even Ricky's friend. I was Ivan's friend. It was his cousin. And I was like, can I come up and practice in Ricky's room while he's at school? And so that was it. Beating up an old Gemini mixer that was already beat. Yeah.
Amazing. You used to throw parties in Chicago, loft parties and stuff, I read.
Yeah.
What was the scene like back then? How do you feel it's changed? Do you think it's still the same? Or?
Oh, man, I won't touch that. You know what I'm realizing? I won't touch the second half of that.
Yeah.
Because everything has changed.
Of course, yeah.
Everything is totally fucking changed. But and everything kept changing leading up to that. Not just the obvious paradigm shift that happened recently, but everything was constantly evolving and devolving in various ways, you know, metamorphosizing. But back then I threw events. I moved here in 2000, so I was however many years old that is from after the year I was born. And then we weren't 21 yet. You know, I remember skipping like my last few classes I remember skipping go to Kinko's and make the flyers by cutting out with the X-Acto knife and the vellum, overlaying stuff on top and cutting words out and things like that. And then you make your little hand flyers, and then you like kind of cut the last couple classes of a day so I can go and take buses to a different school every day and promote when they get out and promote to all the kids when they got out of school. So they didn't have shit else to do, so the parties were packed. You know, I didn't have competition, a couple little things, and but they really were really wildly eclectic events, almost schizophrenic in a way. I don't know if the scene was like that, or I don't know now if my level of manifestation of who the flyer spoke to, or what friends of friends, whatever happens in life that makes us expand our social group. I don't know. Maybe I didn't have one specific energy that I was putting out for people to align with. I had a lot of them, and so a lot of different people came, and there was hip hop heads, there was what are now house legends, but you weren't legends then. Yeah,
I used to hear about those parties, man. I started in the 90s, and like I used to hear about Chicago parties and loft parties and like just the rave scene out there. Like I grew up in New England, and you know, the rave scene was few and far between. There was a strong scene, but I mean, I'd have to drive 3 hours to get to a party to New York, or Connecticut, or you know, and like I dream about driving to Chicago. Like there was no internet. Like you just hear rumors.
You just hear about it. And you hear about some checkpoint that you're supposed to hear about. Everything else when you get to the.
Yeah, I never got to go though. It was one of the places I never made it. It was a little outside of our range from Boston. So,
seriously.
But yeah, I'd love to go back in time and experience the early days of house.
You might not. If you went back in time and went to those parties, you might not be sitting here right
today,
now.
Right? Isn't that the truth?
No, yeah, but there was some magical times everywhere. A lot of people have amazing stories of that era. It was a super liberating era.
It was.
You
It
know?
was such a great part. Like, you know, I think about how lucky we were to be part of like this new birth of like art and music that was really like home built from like the kids who were going to the parties were the ones DJing and throwing the parties.
We're the ones throwing it.
You know, I was a little raver for a little while, and then like watching these kids throw these successful parties and making a career out of it is what turned me around. And like, I stopped partying. I started like stopped partying so much. You know, I started focusing on turning this into like a lifestyle and a career, and it's been the best thing that's ever happened. You know? And like it's all inspired by kids that were my age at the time.
Right.
You know, and they're 19, 20 years old, throwing crazy illegal parties and warehouses.
And you know what? Honestly, I think a real social revolution happened because we had experiences outside of our own bubble. We broke our bubble and we went to places where everybody was outside of the bubble together. And so you don't go home, prejudices dissolved. You know, I think a lot of times other experiences happen, but maybe I'm just saying, like, I think that we all experience the world from our own perspective, and that really, and we forget that that's just a tiny little fraction of a vantage point at a full whole thing that we know not at least in its entirety. So it's cool that we started getting slivers of, oh, the way I look at the world, that's just one of the many ways. And it was informed a little bit, but we were young. We were riffing. We were like jazz. We were improvising. We were trying to see. We were making assumptions on what we thought was the theme, when really it was our own singular experience. And when it happens to you twice, and you're like, oh, that must be how life is. That was just your experience.
Exactly.
It's totally different with somebody else. So you get around these places, and also really expanding scenarios were involved, and you're like, wow, my mind is way wider. And when they say blown, I think that's a beautiful analogy of your bubble bursting, and you realize I'm not just looking at a reflection of the way I see the world all the time, you know?
100%, man. That's a beautiful way to put it. What got you to move out to LA? Like, Chicago's amazing. Was it just, was there like something that brought you out here, or is it just like taking a chance you wanted to expand your music more? Or?
I got married.
Oh, you got married? That's awesome.
I got married. Well, cheers for the year that I was married. But no.
Cheers that it brought you out here.
Cheers that it brought me out here. Yeah. Cheers for every single part of the experience. Everything. Cheers to her. Cheers to love. Cheers to the amount of bravery that comes from that unit of love when you're like, fucking, we can do anything now, man. Just fucking us take on the world. And probably might not have. I felt like a really beautiful humbling happened when I moved to a city where I was definitely a little fish in a big pond. Oh, yeah. I'm not saying I was a big fish in a little pond in Chicago, but I was in my comfort zone. I was in that bubble we spoke of.
Same, man.
So I'm like, holy shit. And it makes you, some people come here with an overdrive that confidence. Bam, let me just throw my business card at a bunch of folks. I'm a hustle hard. That's their version of hustling hard. Respect to that. But I found that my approach, I found out just by diving in, my approach was a little bit more to fly on the wall, see who's doing what, be quiet and listen a lot, you know, learn a lot. Really, all that I knew is not enough to prepare me for this. It's a little bit. I have a format, I have a place from which to hold information, and not all the information. So, this place was a beautiful, beautiful catharsis.
Definitely.
Radical change.
How long till you got into the radio once you moved here?
I don't know.
How long did you get into like working with KCRW?
No, I said I don't know. I'm not so good retrospectively with how long it was between things, but it did happen.
How did it start? Like, how did you get involved with them? Because, you know, before I moved out here, a funny story is like I started taking classes to do radio, to like do college radio at WSMU, Dartmouth, and I did all my classes and I started doing my internship, and I was almost on my internship and was going to get a show. And then we picked up everything and left. And like I forgot, like for a year, I was like,
wow.
And then my wife was like, "Hey, remember you were gonna be a radio DJ?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh yeah." But like college and underground radio really, really shaped who I am. Like more than anything, the first hip hop I ever heard was Bruno playing "Busy Bee" when I was like 6 years old on like WSMU. Like I got my first little Fisher Price radio, and I was listening to the radio, and I found the college station, and like. That's how I found hip hop.
College Station was the great liberator for what was underground music, and it's not no more. Yeah. But college radio was huge. It was ungoverned.
Yeah.
That's
how I found drum and bass, man. I was just listening one night and heard some like Soul Slinger and Islam playing, and was like, what is this? And like literally had no way to look it up and had to like call people, like recorded it and like call people. Yeah. Like, what is this? You know? And like I've never heard anything like this. So.
Straight up, I remember that too. I remember my cassette deck was always on record and pause,
Yep.
ready, like, oh, there it is, like, go
Yep.
unpause. That was the only way I was going to have that song.
Always, man. And my first time I ever tried to mix beats was with 2 tapes.
Yep.
I tried playing 2 tapes at the same time.
Yep, me too,
You know,
brother.
I got it for like a couple seconds. I didn't understand BPM at the time.
No.
But like, how did you get involved with radio? Did you take classes or did you just like step into it?
I did not have any experience, but they trained me for a long time. They trained me, I think it was more than 6 months. I think it might have been closer to 8 months when it was. So I had a weekly event at Zanzibar in Santa Monica. It started a little bit, yeah, right. And so Zanzibar I had an event called Afro Funky. I did with 2 partners, and so Jason Bentley also had a night there. And a little bit later, Garth Trinidad and Matthew Schreier, who also ended up on KCRW. Well, Garth was on the whole time. So I think they were wondering who the guy was who does Thursdays there. He's really eclectic. And I think I started getting comfortable getting on the microphone there a little bit, too. So maybe they kind of watched me and said well, I don't want to say a diamond, but like he's in the rough for sure.
Yeah.
Might not be a diamond, but he's in the rough. But
There's
there's something there, and so I got a call. I got a call from Ann Litt, and she said, Jeremy, this is Ann Litt. Do you know who I am? Do you know KCRW? I said yes, and she said, have you ever thought about being on radio? I was like, no, not ever, not once, no, and because not since college radio did I didn't really know that it was going to be what it was, which was they have never told me once what to play or what not to play.
It's a special radio station.
Ever, or to anyone. And so she's like, do you want to make me a demo tape? And then I made a demo tape, and they heard it, and they said, okay, I want you to come in the station. We're going to train you on the equipment and how to speak and things like that, because it was probably horrible. I think I still have it. I haven't listened back, but it was horrible. It was horrible. But they were like, songs are great. You're not going to change the songs ever. And for over 6 months, I never changed the playlist. They just wanted me to do that same playlist.
And get used to it. That's
it. Really cool. How do I do my segues? How do I plan? Anyways, it was still horrible.
It's a lot, man. I'm learning myself. This is the first time, like, we just started doing interviews and, like, talking on the mic and stuff. And then, it is, until you get up there and you put that mic in your hand, you're like, oh, I have to, like, think about everything. So much respect to you, man. You kill it every time I listen.
Thank you, man.
It's such a great show. It's, like, one of the first things I discovered when I came to L.A. Like, KCRW, like, made me fall in love with L.A. a little bit, where I just, like... oh, there's real radio here. There's not many real radio stations left in the country. Right. And like,
you end up, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, okay.
I think you end up listening to it thinking almost like if you were to step into a club and everyone's dancing, you would be able to tell that they're liking the music. But even if it's just listening in your car, driving around, the DJs on the radio hosts are playing music that you're thinking, wow, this must be a city that's this diverse or this open to anything. I must be in a pretty eclectic, open-minded place.
Yep.
So it's almost like the music is reflective and it makes you have an impression of what you think the other listeners might be like.
Exactly. No, that's exactly what happened, man. I was just like, oh yeah, this is the city for music. I was like, you could turn it on and find. I'm such an eclectic person when it comes. I'm music ADD. Like, from anything from death metal and punk to like ambient to like cumbia.
Yeah,
like
we've been around each other at a lot of festivals and functions, and we've all been around a lot of different stuff.
Those Wednesday night post low end KCRW.
Yeah.
Sets.
I actually always thought about a couple places, Dub Club at the Echo and Low End
First club I found when I came to LA was Dub Club. I wandered in and was like, oh my God.
If you were thinking, this is what the city's like, no, the city's not like that. It's a special place. But the fact that it's there, and those two, both get out at 2 a.m. I was midnight to 3, so I was always thinking about people leaving the club, putting me on in the car, maybe slightly altered, driving home.
You got me home many
and I was
nights,
like,
man.
what can I just bug these people out
Yeah,
with.
you got me home safely many, many nights. I'm like, all right, let's get home.
Sometimes I got people calling like, yo, I stayed in the car because I wanted to hear what that song was that you played, and then I woke up in the morning in the car.
Gas lamp at midnight, nobody at 1, Jeremy Soul at 2. Man, that was my Wednesday.
That was an interesting thing to inspire my curation. Was projecting who I think is on the other end, you know.
What did you guys do over the pandemic? Like, I kind of lost track of radio. I was just trying to survive. Did you guys do stuff from home, or did you actually go into the studio still? Or?
We were considering it. The station was considering checking our sound quality and our mics and everything, like kind of like getting demo tapes all over again to see if our stuff was going to be broadcast quality from home. But no, we didn't. As a matter of fact, we have a second channel called Eclectic 24, which just means it's music going 24/7, and it's a second channel.
Sweet.
And so we just let that take the forefront, and there was like a skeleton crew, a really stripped down few people that were they had to live differently, can't be going out and mixing and whatever. And even when they came in the station, they never were in contact with each other. I think only 7 people worked at the station at a time, and then there was a second shift of 7. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, a red team and a blue team.
Wow.
And like one is up in the office, like just the least amount of people that could do the most amount of tasks, and then a lot of us had to do it from home, just trying to get by like everybody, you know.
Nice. You guys back?
We still don't ever see each other. We still safety protocols. We wipe it down between the next person.
You're back in the studio though.
I'm back in the studio.
That must feel nice.
Oh man, I didn't know if it was. You know what? I felt a little bit all the time, like maybe I am one of the extremities, like one of the more far out selectors, and I felt like sometimes. I always was worried that I was going to get let go. I thought I felt like I didn't. Not to be a rebel or anything like that, but I thought the best way for me to keep the radio station as a whole eclectic was for me to be to go in directions that were underrepresented the rest of the hours of the day.
Definitely.
But I wanted some cohesion with everybody, and I wanted us as a station to seem like we collectively were championing somebody's new record. We're all getting behind that record. You turn it on once in a while, and we're not going to knock it into people's heads like pop radio where it's every 4th song, you know, but a few times during the day, so you'll catch different people in different parts of their day. So I was trying that, but still I always was a little concerned that am I a little too out there, you know what I mean?
I don't think so.
A little too much psychedelic cumbia. No,
There's
I mean
a lot of people who love that stuff in LA, I'll tell you, man. You know,
Yeah.
like, I don't think so at all. You know,
well, I
like,
still came from the underground perspective. Like I never stopped being a DJ for a living. That's been my only job since I was 15.
God bless
And so that always kept me knowing that there were people out there listening to that other weird shit.
Exactly.
And so I'm going to represent them and for them. And I'm going to grow to give them what I think we're going further down each one of those lanes, even be it underground or really rare stuff or, you know, whatever.
How do you find the music for the radio? Is it stuff that you personally like, or do people like send in new stuff to the radio and you get to like go through catalogs?
At this point, a lot. So I have relationships now because it's, you know, this woman who works for this publicist or promo person or agent or record label, Jeremy, we got this new artist. You're going to love this shit. Let me send it over to you. And, you know, they'll start finding out who does and doesn't play the stuff when they sent it to them. So I think that now people are like sending me, you know, whatever. I get a lot.
That's awesome.
A
man.
lot.
What
It's a good
blessing.
problem to have, but you know, you always remember, even when it used to be just in our inbox, physical mail of demos, be them CDRs or like the most beautiful pull-out, you know, high-res photo, a poster in it, and signed and die cut and embossed or whatever. And either way, even if it's just a home-burned CDR, it could be the illest. It could be the next biggest thing. So you never get snobby as a listener. As a curator, because the most you know, the shit that gets sent to you with no makeup because they're not that kind of person who puts makeup on their music. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's the raw stuff.
Look at the story of Wu-Tang, man. And you watch that documentary. I mean, they showed up to a radio station and tossed their CD to somebody, and it was like the off-night DJ. It was like somebody filling in, and the dude played it. And that's like the history. So like,
and we got to remember. Yeah, and we got to remember this is somebody's whole fucking hopes and dreams that just sent
yeah.
this to you. This is a lot of soul searching and learning and passion and fear, overcoming fucking lot of fear to get this to me.
Yeah.
And it matters that much. So I don't take it lightly. I don't, that doesn't mean I play everything. And it doesn't mean I'm going to play anything that's not ready either. Because that's not really doing that artist a favor. It's,
100%.
So yeah.
You write original music too. I didn't even really know that a little bit. You were in a band. Are you still in Mosaic? Or is it, what was it
Mosaics? Yeah, it was like mosaic music,
Yeah,
Mosaics.
that's
And it was, when you're a DJ, like for a living, like a resident DJ, like you show up and you're opening up for multiple bands, you start having favorite players in all these bands. Oh my God, every time she sings backups or every time he's on the keys or whatever like that. So it was really, in my naive way, it was my first trying to put together like a super group of what I thought was super. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh. And then that was the beginning of me starting to curate. So I write music a little bit, but I almost feel like that's separate. Really what I do when I make music is I write what I think is a good something to set up for the concoction, like a scientist. Like I'm gonna pour him and her into a studio, and I think this will be the base liquid that would be a good mixer for
So
them.
you're DJ Humans, basically.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yes.
like that's your stems.
I spin people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You mentioned something about La Freak Sonique.
Yeah.
What is that? Let's talk about it.
Man, it's kind of like almost everything we've said so far could have been an explanation of that. How wildly diverse the city is, how underground is still important and viable when people, you know what? One thing that LA does is you start seeing what makes it and what doesn't, and it's hard for that not to inform your creative process. So you're like, if I made this a little different, I could be more successful in certain lanes. So your popularity does change your creative process. I'm not going to say it kills your creative process because sometimes it's the greatest motivator. But I just say that to say that things that are underground, people make things because it's fucking good. And it's commercial viability. As a guy who gets approached by major labels all the time and underground and everything like that, I want an outlet to play all the stuff that this is not going to sell 1 million copies, but it should. Mm-hmm. And so that party is, and also, you know what, with all the shit going on in the world where people are divisive, divisive, separation, them and us, all that otherist shit of any kind at all, I'm just fucking over it. People need to grow up. People need to burst their own bubble in some way and realize there's all kind of people here. Stop fearing that anyone's going to take something over you. That has brought nothing but bad shit onto everybody. And you walk around this world genuinely giving and caring and learning from everybody. All that bad shit doesn't happen to you. I got good karmic credit, and I learned the hard way.
Yeah, me too.
I had bad credit for a while, and I cleaned up my karmic credit. So
same, man. Same.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So-
you show love and love comes back. It's such a simple concept, but like it's so truthful. You know, I'm surrounded myself in the last 5 years with just people I love and trust, and like, wow, what night and day from being, like I used to just try to be friends with everybody.
Remember when the city meant, to be street smart, you gotta watch your standing. But there's people are, you're naive and you will get taken advantage of, and you're a sucker and a mark and a chump if you're not constantly watching. Nobody's taking a fool when really there is like a higher order of things, which is that what you just said, what you put out.
Yeah.
Are you gonna come down here?
Y'all
Y'all need to know about.
You another mic. Hold on.
Y'all people know about need to know about Stranger Liquids.
What's up, internet?
So Liam here is part of Stranger Liquids, and they do this classic. Well, I'll let you explain it, man. I'll let you. But when I saw, all right, so Gas Lamp Killer did an event called Airplane Mode, and it was an amazing event, of course, as you'd expect from Will, Gas Lamp Killer. But he also is like keeping like old psychedelic ways of doing things alive, right? And so he had Stranger Liquid's doing live liquid light show visuals the old-fashioned way, the way in the late 60s and stuff like that, with all the oil and the projectors and things like that. And I was fascinated. I was like, I'm so glad people are doing this old methodology, this old approach to this shit. And so I found him there, and then we've been making weird fun ever since.
I actually met you before that.
Where?
So Elvin, DJ Nobody.
Yeah.
You remember he was doing the side trips, 45 psychedelic event at ETA in Highland Park. I think you and your partner came in one night. Me and my girlfriend were there, and I was like, "Holy shit, it's Jeremy Soul!" And like I was saying earlier, I listen to you every Wednesday night after Low End Theory, and so you were there, kicking it, talking to your buddies and all that, having a good time with your girl. And at the end of the night, I walk up to you and I'm like, "Jeremy Soul, absolute pleasure to meet you." And you're like, "Not right now. It's not the time." What? Yeah, bro. No, for real. You were like, "It's not the time yet." You straight up. I swear to God, I remember it like it was yesterday.
That sounds rude.
No, bro. You were like, "It's not the time. Like, we're gonna do something." Like, you said it like that. Like, it was crazy. Like you knew the future. It was trippy as hell. No, it wasn't rude. It was like you were putting a big a pin on the conversation. Yeah, but not right now. Not in this venue. Not here. And it was crazy. It was so crazy, man. Because that ETA, that side trips thing with Elvin, with Nobody, is how I got linked up with Gaslamp Killer. Actually, it was like the same night that you were there. Yeah, shit you not, man. It's crazy stuff.
Check.
And then
Hey,
I've been working with Will since, and you as well, and doing the parties and all that, airplane mode, like Freak, Sonique.
Yeah, man. And we've been talking about a lot of concepts. Hello. Yeah.
Check.
And
Cool.
me and Liam and Stranger Liquids guys been talking about a lot of concepts to expand this old classic way into newer realms. And he just meets me, or right where I'm projecting into the possibility, he meets me there, and sometimes drags it further. So it's my kind of brainstorm.
Do you want to explain a little bit about what you do? I'm gonna turn my camera so that you can actually see this setup.
Yeah. So what you're kind of seeing right here is an overhead projector like you used to use in grade school, but we've modified it. There's a camera up here. There's LEDs inside instead of a incandescent bulb and a mirror. And we put that oil sort of blob stuff that you were seeing in the visuals during the set. That's all done by hand right here on this light box under the camera. And that technique of the oil dyes and the hand manipulation, that goes back to, I think, 1957, San Francisco at an art school. A film student started developing that technique. And then the hippie movement, all that stuff happened, LSD, etc. And people started realizing, like, wait a second, this is really fucking cool. And rock concerts at the time only had theater lighting and spotlights. They didn't have color-changing lights yet. None of that had been invented. And so the only way to really get that dynamic lighting was with the liquid light stuff. And so I've worked with a bunch of old heads. I was just in the Bay Area this past weekend working with a guy who's 75. He was at the Fillmore West when he was 14.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and these techniques, it's an original American art form. It was created in San Francisco, and it's a part of the story of American music, and it's really a blessing to be able to work with these people who were pioneers of it and who really pushed boundaries, and we just continue to try and progress, like you were saying, try to take it in new directions and modernize it and get it into a space where it not just competes or whatever with contemporary stuff, but it stands on its own as a unique art form.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's definitely unique, man. Every time you can see it from I've seen you do it a bunch of times at live shows, and it stands out. It's really the organic textures and stuff. You just can't get that out of digital.
And the fact that it's manipulated by hand in real time, and you feel the motion of the person who's doing it. So
it's like jazz almost. You're sitting in with the band or the DJ 100%.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more like playing an instrument and jamming with the
right.
And the randomness too is super cool. You kind of know what's gonna come, but those moments like at the end of the set, and you're like, oh my, we were all like, oh my god,
Yeah,
like, what is
yeah.
that? Like those
You're kind of
moments
just
are-
setting the stage for the liquids and the dyes to do their thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
and not to say like visual like digital visual art's awesome too.
No,
but you
yeah.
get less of those moments of like.
And if you're good at that stuff, you're playing it like an instrument. When you get your
Yeah.
rig set up, your MIDI controller, all that stuff, like
Right.
it's like an instrument.
Yeah.
But this
Totally.
is so visceral. It's so literal.
it's
And
like playing records almost, It's
like playing
when you
records.
get a lot of these set up and like what we do at Le Freak Sonique and at Airplane Mo, and we have like a couple of these, not just one. It is like spinning plates because I'm handling multiple things that are all going in rhythm to the
It
music.
physically looks like it too.
Yeah,
'cause
I'm
you got
all
that-
over. I'm going side to side, spinning stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really it lends itself to that. I feel like I get into that same flow state that DJs do. I've never DJ'd, but I'm at a lot of DJ shows and with that stuff, and I feel like you have to tap into that flow state in order to do it well.
I think the cool thing about it too is like it crosses genres as well, where it's like maybe some of like the digital visual stuff would not really work well with like live bands or like reggae or anything.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But this works with everything really. You could do this to classical music and it would still be cool. It'd probably be really cool.
We performed with the LA Philharmonic
There you
at
go.
one point. Yeah.
I would love to see. You have any recordings of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're on
I
our
would love to
Instagram.
see.
I'll send you one when we're done.
Please do.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
the Instagram? What's again? It's
At Stranger Liquids. And then that stuff's back from like 2018, 2017 when we worked with them.
Sweet.
It was there was a improvisational dancer and a 32-person orchestra and us. It was wild. It was wild. It was a good time.
Have you ever messed with video mapping with it?
Oh yeah. So the stuff we were doing today is like the digital form of the liquids, and that can all go into video mapping. That's what I was just doing in the Bay Area for that guy in his 70s. I was taking his show and making it digital for him.
What do they think? What do the old heads think about it?
It blew his mind. He was stressing out for about 3 hours at the show. He's like freaking out. He's like, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. I'm like, George, sit down. Let me get on the computer really quick. I, did the mapping, tied it all to the stage and stuff. And he comes back. He's like, holy shit. Like, wow, you can do this with this? I'm like, George, you own the equipment, man. You should know how to do this. Like,
That's incredible.
and it's just like how you're doing the setup here, where you have the cameras into the video mix and you're compositing different images together. It's very similar to that. It's just more abstract and more psychedelic, obviously, with the nature of what's going on.
Do you guys plan on doing any live shows together, like out in the wild?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, this Friday is Le Freak Sonique, and he's gonna be with me at Resident. That's the club that it goes down in the arts district downtown. And he's usually outside on the patio. We might actually do both the outside patio and bring it inside. So it's kind of on the dancers and in the backdrop and things like that. And but yes, we've got some master plans up our sleeveless.
Amazing. What kind of DJs I'm assuming you play? Do you have a lineup or is it unannounced? Or?
Yeah, no, this one is DJ Day from Palm Springs, who's a close friend and a huge influence on me, and just an amazing record collector, technician as far as like cutting, doubles, his ability to manipulate different genres on top of each other, and the way to keep everyone dancing, but still constantly introducing new things to them. So he's a big influence in that. And then also DJ Newmark from Jurassic 5 and everything.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
Newmark and Day is a great combination. I
That
think
is a
they're
good lineup.
gonna
It's gonna be a good night.
one up each other.
Is
I
this,
think
is this a weekly or monthly or?
it's about every month, but it's not on a specific day because
Gotcha.
like the way I explain it is I'm getting to the point. I'm old enough now where I will only put it together. I got kind of a bucket list of my like favorites that I want to have, and it's hard enough to get those kind of people to be available and to fly them in town if they're not from LA. Not to mention try to make them fit on one specific day a month, the first Friday or some shit like that. So I throw it when everybody's available. It might be 2 or 3 weeks apart, might be 5, 6 weeks
Nice.
apart.
How do we find out about him?
It's just on my page. I don't think I'm going to start a second page for it. It's just going to be an extension of all of us, collaborative effort. And so just go to my page, Jeremy Soul,
It's kinda
SOLE.
Similar to the lift parties.
Well, I haven't announced this until after the party Friday, but we're gonna do the Lyft reunion at the next one because it's my birthday. The next one's my birthday, and what I wanted to do for guests is just play like we used to play in those warehouses and those humongous different warehouse every month, and this tiny little red light and a disco ball, and that's
I'm going
it.
to be here for that. The best
So, yeah.
parties in LA. I have to just personally thank you.
That was fun.
the last one I went to was like Erykah Badu, Thundercat,
Erykah Badu, Thunder.
Giles Peterson.
Yeah, Giles Peterson,
Giles Peterson and Gaslamp, right?
and Gaslamp.
That
And
was one of the best shows I've
at
ever
the
been
Mayan.
to.
That one was at the Mayan, yeah.
it was
And
one of
then
the best shows I've ever been to in my entire life. Erykah Badu, just like
I think one of my first Instagram posts is from there.
I was doing audio for that, and I like got to walk her out and like
Yeah.
help her out, and I was just like
far out, right? I know I got to play before her.
My
She didn't
heart-
even know.
my heart was
I booked her.
beating
She didn't
so
even know who I
hard.
was. She was like ready. I was like, okay, let me get out your way. What did you say?
I was gonna say. So all three of us were in that room. That's really funny. One of my first Instagram posts was a shitty edit that I made on my phone at the party, just stoned and stuff. Like I took a picture of the stage. I think it was while Thundercat was playing. If you go all the way down on my Instagram, it's like that, and then there's one of you, and then one of Gaslamp. This all the same year, like at the same thing. It was so
Yeah.
funny, man.
I didn't
That's
know who
crazy.
was playing. Ian, shout out Motion Audio. That's actually how I met you, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah,
Yeah, and
that
he
crew.
trained me, basically taught me everything about audio
Yeah.
that I know and about production.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was like, hey, he always does that to me. He's like, you want to go do this show? And I usually don't even ask at the time. I'm like, sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I showed up, and then I was like, who's playing tonight? And I was like,
That's
yeah, whatever.
that's the real honor is that we'll try to always book people that are highly anticipated, but really what we're really trying to do is book people that will blow their mind. And when the party started being packed regardless, it was a laborious and expensive party to throw because you're always renting a new warehouse. You're always it's just a lot. And we did it all from scratch in every place. We would take a raw warehouse, soundstage, random ass, a loading dock outside under the sun under the moonlight and stuff. And so little by little, the real honor was that people would just come. They would just trust us. Like, I don't know who that is, but it's got to be somebody epic, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, no, every time. It was never disappointing. You guys have any shows? Anything you want to promote? We can wrap this up a little bit.
We got Friday. This
Yeah.
coming Friday.
Did you say you have a new album coming out?
No.
No?
No, I've been working on it for a long time, and it's kind of like how my band was. My band was just a few shows. A cool story though that I was super proud of. Our first show was at the Getty Museum. They
Sick.
opening up for actually even the band we opened up for was on another stage on another level. So it was like we had our own debut
Film level at the
showcase. It
Getty.
was
That's so
outrageous, and I was real honored that all those players said yes. They didn't know me that well at that time. We're all close friends now, or friends. But like, so I say that because it's kind of like the same thing. Like I'm reaching towards all these amazing players. And so it's kind of happening when it happens over time. People who are really busy, they're like, hit me in 4 months when this project's done or something. So, and that's just for me to try to get a couple people in the same room to record some.
I hear that.
Yeah.
No, just even doing the show, man, just trying to find work around people's schedules and flights.
You know what I mean?
Especially now, especially things open up, people taking gigs again. It's
Yeah.
radius clauses and it's
Right.
it's a lot. But yeah, we
Yeah.
appreciate you coming in, man. You're always welcome here.
Man, I appreciate both of you.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have anything else? Do you have anything else to promote, or you got any shows coming out?
Airplane mode, is that cool? We got an airplane mode on the 31st. I think it's a Thursday, next Thursday.
Cool.
That's gonna be at Clifton's. It's Gaslamp Killer and some legendary beat
Egon,
makers.
Egon, Edon. Wait, Edon and Egon, I
Yes,
think?
sir. Yes.
Edon and Egon.
I mean, you could trust Gaslamp Killer's curation. He's gonna have just
Yeah, we're
Madman.
gonna turn that place into a psychedelic wonderland.
Incredible. I'll
Yeah,
be
it's,
there. Remind me.
it's gonna be a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
I wish I could be this week, but I'm up in Oakland. But you guys have a great show.
I think the main thing for us is that we're always just involving ourselves with a lot of different types of projects. So just if you don't mind following us on Instagram, mine's Jeremy Soul. Last name spelled Sole, and Stranger Liquids is spelled as such.
Stranger Liquids. Yep.
Yeah, the liquids after the.
My
Stranger.
mom's giving you a shout out. She just said she's heading to bed, but she really enjoyed the interview and listening to you and learning a bunch of new stuff.
Big up.
So,
I
Big
appreciate
up.
you so much. Thank you. Sleep well.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. We're gonna wrap things up. Thank you all for tuning in. As usual, we are MobileCoin Radio. We're here every Wednesday. We do have a show next Tuesday with Honeycomb. We're going to be doing another T-shirt drop. It's your last chance to get the shirt. Coming up next, we have Kyrie and Kayla on the 30th for Trans Visibility Day. They're two incredible DJs. They play bass music and producers. We also have Gaslamp Killer coming up on the 6th. We have Secret Recipe live from Oakland coming up on the
Big ups, Wormhole.
13th. Yeah, big ups to Wormhole. It'll be good to see those guys. I haven't seen them since before pandemic. And,
before times,
I miss
yeah.
them so much. And then we got the legend, one of my biggest inspirations for becoming a DJ, Reed Speed here on 420. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
I'm already nervous. I've known her for years, but like, she's such a drum and bass queen to me. Like, she's the top of the pack. So super excited. Make sure you give us a like and follow, and lock it in. We'll hope to see you here next Tuesday. Peace.